Hey, what's up everybody? My name is John, but people on the internet call me Narwhal, and I am in the midst of a challenge where I'm watching every single superhero movie ever made in order because I've never seen them. To every single one of you who have been following along in this journey with me and enjoying all the reviews, thank you so much. Today we're here to talk about The Amazing Spider-Man. Got my old reliable apple juice here. When you live by yourself and it's a Friday afternoon and you don't have a significant other and your whole family is in a different state, you turn to apple juice. It's really good apple juice. Just to give you guys a little behind the scenes, I have to record 10 movie reviews right now, back to 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 back. I've never done a video on apple juice before, so we'll see how this goes. Now, my little quirk or specialty with movies that annoys most people is I pick it apart too much, and I think there's a time and a place to pick apart specifics, like little minute details of a movie that maybe don't technically add up, but don't really matter. But then there's other times where it's like, dude, just watch the fucking movie. And I totally get that. I usually am just being annoying. But the first thing I noticed about this movie is, how did Gwen Stacy, who's a high schooler, get an internship at this big company? From my understanding, they made it seem like the company was, you know, top tier, like a Apple or Microsoft. And I don't think that there's high schoolers just interning there leading these tours. But I don't know, maybe Gwen is really just a top tier student on a whole nother level and she's qualified for that and knows how to do it. But if you asked my high school self to lead a tour of a facility, things would have gone very poorly. I just have to say it. I like Andrew Garfield's portrayal of Spider-Man way more than Tobey Maguire. And I don't think it's anything against Tobey Maguire. I think it's just more of the times, like the way that the character was written. And I don't know, I've realized throughout this process that for me, a large portion of whether or not I enjoy a movie is based on the writing and the dialogue of the characters and just the characterization in general. And for me, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man felt so much more human. It's just that the early 2000s movies, the writing isn't really how people talk, in my opinion, and it's very, you know, comic booky, it felt like. And I can totally get why people love Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and why that's so iconic. Like, Spider-Man 2 was amazing, but it's not really my style. And for this one, I thought Andrew Garfield was great. I love how witty and sassy he is as Peter Parker. And I have had a crush on Emma Stone for literally my entire life, and I want to marry her. But now she's pregnant and engaged. Still a chance. Something that I found hilarious is that Andrew Garfield was 28 when this movie came out and he was playing a high schooler. I'm 23 and people think that I look 45, and Andrew Garfield maybe didn't, like, he could pull off playing a younger character, but he definitely looked like he was at least 25. It's not really a big deal. It's just unfortunate timing. I think if they would have cast him in this, you know, 5 years earlier, it would have been a lot better. But I really enjoyed this movie regardless. I think that up to this point, this is probably my favorite movie I've seen, and I don't know if that's a hot take. There were some people that were like, oh yeah, finally someone else who loves it as much as I do. And I just think that since nostalgia isn't really a thing for me, I feel like I can just view these as just movies themselves. Like, I just think sometimes nostalgia clouds people's judgment and like opinions of things, and for me, this was the most beautiful cinematography I'd seen thus far. It was pretty funny. I really love Peter's sense of, like, he doesn't give a fuck, but he also is just an idiot, and he's just this weird combination, which I feel like any high schooler going through puberty, you know, there's a girl you like, you're also saving the entire city, shit like that. It makes sense, and I feel like I just really liked the direction they took the character. It's been almost 2 weeks now since I've seen that movie, like at the time of recording this review, but there's still so many memorable scenes that stand out. There was the really awkward dinner scene at Gwen's house with Peter and her dad getting into an argument, and that was awesome. I really liked that because I've never seen that specific instant in a movie before where it's a high school date where you're meeting your high school crush's family, but you're kind of like being aggressive or hostile towards them. And he wasn't really even trying to do that. Like, Peter was just giving his stance and his honest opinion, and he was just a bold character. And I just loved the back and forth between him and the dad. I thought it was super well written, and it was just something where I was like, damn, I would have loved to have a conversation or have a debate like that when I was in high school, because I would have felt so good afterwards. A note that I wrote down on my phone while watching it, which I have since found out the answer to, was like, how come her name isn't MJ? Because in the original Spider-Man trilogy, the girl was MJ and then this girl's Gwen, and I was informed by you guys in the comments that, like, there's kind of different timelines or different love interests depending on, I don't really know what it's depending on or how they decide that. And I was also wondering, do the Spider-Man origin stories always have to be the same? You know what I'm saying? Like, if he can have a different love interest based on different timelines of the comics, and then in the movies he can have different love interests. Can they also have a different origin story? Like, can they make a Spider-Man movie where he becomes Spider-Man in a totally different way? Or is it only based on things they have already done in the comics? Why did I say it like that? Comics? I don't know. It would be cool to see a alternative origin for Spider-Man sometime. I also just wanted to give a compliment to the cinematography team, the editing team, because everything in this movie was beautiful. The cinematography, the swinging in particular, like when he was flying around the city, they made that look so fun. And part of the reason I think it looks so great is because I had just watched a ton of movies from the 90s and early 2000s, and then this was kind of a leap forward, so obviously it's going to look better. I don't know. I just overall enjoyed this movie a lot more than the other ones. The last thing I really have to say about this movie is, holy shit, Peter Parker must have some serious PTSD, because he witnesses so many people close to him die. And it's always the male figures in his life. Like, god damn, this guy doesn't have a dad. His uncle died. I don't really remember, but I'm sure there was others dudes that died in the movie. And you know, something else I want to bring up. Does nobody ever talk about the deaths that must have been caused, like, as a result of a lot of these battles? Not necessarily like direct deaths of the villain trying to kill people, but I'm just talking about debris when Spider-Man's in a fight through a tall building 50 stories up and they smash through a wall. There's got to be so much concrete, glass, poles and shit that are just gonna fall to the ground. And now that I'm bringing it up, it kind of pisses me off, because Spider-Man probably inadvertently killed so many people in all these battles. Like, imagine if Spider-Man saves this battle, but a chunk from the building fell off on top of a bus and killed like your two kids. I wouldn't be very happy that Spider-Man won that battle. I'd be fucking pissed. Once again, I'm probably thinking too deep on this, but there's definitely got to be some fatalities based on the sheer amount of destruction that are caused in these battles. But that's all I really have to say about it. I thought this movie was very enjoyable. You know, I don't think it's the best thing ever made. I don't think I'll watch it again for a while, but it definitely was the most enjoyable and felt the most realistic, I guess, of a lot of the movies I've watched so far. Overall, I thought it was an enjoyable movie. I gave it a 7.5 on TikTok, and I'm going to stick with that. Let me know what you guys thought of The Amazing Spider-Man in the comments. If you guys are new around here, be sure to subscribe and leave a like on this video. It helps me out a lot. And if you enjoy me and want more content, be sure to check out my podcast called Peak to Middle School. There's 2 episodes every single week. It's filmed in this studio with my best friend Kyle.
Superman's like jacked.
Yeah.
Just because he's jacked doesn't mean he can lift up cars. Like, he has superpowers. It's not because of he can bench press like 250. The fact that he looks like he could bench like 300 pounds doesn't really help him in the fact that he has superpowers. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he was my size, he would be doing the same thing because he has superpowers.
Exactly. So why don't they make one where the lead is unattractive, little overweight, and like not your typical hero? The reason they don't is because it wouldn't sell as many tickets. I can't recommend it enough. I really love the show, and I think you guys would all enjoy it as well. So be sure to check it out. It's linked in the description. And I'm going to go watch The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Peace.